Welcome to the Johnny Dell Football Academy podcast on the channel that's trying to answer the whys and hows of the game by talking through and dissecting game film and diving deeper to explain why the X's zig and the O's zag. I am Adam Marino, joined by Mr. Johnny Dell, and we are reminding you, as always, the most fun way to watch is on YouTube, where we go live. There you can comment into the live show. Be sure to hit the notification bell and turn on your notifications so you can be a part of the conversation. We also stream live on Facebook and X. Also, the audio versions are always found on Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcasts. Now, if you are live with us in the chat, it's probably because you are subscribed, you've hit the notification bell, and turned those notifications on. So, when sharing with your friends, be sure to let them know. We also love to hear from you outside of our live show. Email us at johnnydellsfootballacademy@gmail.com, and you can always check out the website JFA49.com, as it is the most fun way to support the channel. Also, the way we boost the chat and boost the algorithm is to type out hashtag JD49. Yes, and I've just boosted the algorithm. I've done my part. Hashtag JD49. Shout out to the usual suspects like Quiffleball, Hugo 10, which congrats, he says, on 25K. So I was giving Johnny some crap that Sports Idiot Nation is creeping up on him as we have about 14,000 subscribers on YouTube. Follow at Sports Idiot Nation wherever you get your social media. And of course, catch us on YouTube. New episode dropped yesterday. But and quick shout out again to Johnny Dell for being on that podcast. That was super, super fun. So all that to say,
I think it was all because
crap. Yeah. I was giving him crap like, and boom, 25K, dude. That was awesome. I think I might have been through one of my podcast clients. I think I may or may not have been the number 20.
Hey. We don't need to bring that up.
Yeah.
I think what I did is I screenshotted. I was at 24,999.
And I was like, let me fix
it. Sent to Adam, and I was like, I'm one away.
Yep. So
one away. There's just something magical about that number. But since then,
man.
I picked up another 36 subscribers. But it was just like that moment.
Yeah.
Of like happening to catch. It's kind of like when you see your odometer and it's at 99,999 miles, and you're like, I'm 1 mile away. I've got to get. I've got to capture it when it is. So yeah, that was great. So yeah,
this is
big moment. I was in my feels.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. Onward and upward to 50,000 with the faithful's help. Be sure to share this channel with your friends and family that are Niner fans, especially share it to Seahawk fans, especially. We're going to get into the Seahawks. We're going to get into Demo. You and I talked right before the show that this was definitely not on our radar. It was not on Demo's radar. If you ask him when he first signed with the team, he thought he was getting cut. I'm sure many of you saw that press conference where he was getting Kyle Shanahan in trouble by being overly physical, and he was like, man, I'm about to get cut. And not only did he not get cut, he now can pay for Kyle Shanahan's children's tuition. If you caught that, he was saying that Shanahan got fined, and that was the money that he was going to pay his kids' college tuition with. Obviously a joke. But then Demo took it a step further and said, well, now I can afford to pay for Shanahan's kids to go to college. So Lynch said, you are the epitome of what we want as a Niner. Like, was just very cool. We have talked about Demo a ton. Johnny, how you feeling about him being re-signed?
I think it's fantastic. He was somebody I felt like going in through this season, and especially with how he was playing this year, he has been our best player in the secondary, and it's not close. Renardo Green has been good. Renardo Green has been a huge surprise. Not the player that Demo has been. Mooney Ward has been very up and down when he's been on the field. And he's dealt with some injuries. And then obviously the personal thing. I'm not even gonna suggest he should be on the field. There's nothing with that, or that he should be knocked for not being on the field. Absolutely not. Right. But when I look at, Jair Brown has really, he's been very up and down is the easiest way to put it this season. He's made some good plays. He has also given up quite a number of good plays. I feel like the signing of Tayshaun Gibson was more of a reflection on Jair Brown than it has been on Malik Mustafa, or even the prospect of getting Talanoa Hufanga back. So just he has had a very up and down year, and it's not that he's not making some plays. It's that you cannot get, as a safety, you cannot be giving up huge explosive plays, and that's happened the last 3 weeks. He's been giving up or opening the door for really big plays. You cannot have that. So to me, Jair Brown is on a shorter leash going forward. I think as they're expecting him to be ascending at this point, and he's been flatting out, or it's staying, coming down a little bit. And the more teams see of this, they're going to go after him. If you remember going back to week 2 against the Minnesota Vikings, Justin Jefferson with a big giant play, that was on Jair Brown. That was on him. He gave up the longest pass play in 49ers history. When we look at the touchdown to CeeDee Lamb that made the game to 6 points, that took a game that you should have had signed, sealed, delivered, as Stevie Wonder had said, that game was there, and you end up running into Renardo Green and letting CD break wide, nobody around him for 20 yards for a touchdown. You have the longest run of the day that the Bucs had. Jair Brown was the run fit in that hole and just totally misses the run fit. So he's just given up too many big plays. Tayshaun Gibson, you're not going to get as many of the positive plays, big positive plays that Jair Brown has been able to do. But at this point, you're saying we just need to have a lot fewer negative plays, big, like explosive negative plays. Those are game-changing plays. You can survive a quarterback making a 7-8 yard completion. It's really hard to survive giving up 40, 50, 90 yard completions. That will drive a coach nuts. So, moving on from that, Deommodore Lenoir has been our best player in the secondary. It's been him. I think our best players of the year have been Fred Warner, Deommodore Lenoir, Nick Bosa. I think Deommodore Lenoir has been the second best player on defense this year. It was early on in one of the drives. They tried to run it at Demo, and they got like a 9-yard gain. It was their second longest run up to that point in the game, and I posted it, or I showed it on the breakdown video. Deommodore Lenor, I posted on X as well. Deommodore Lenor got absolutely tackled by the
right. Yep.
From behind. Like he got up waving for a flag. It was so bad.
Warner did too in that video,
and Warner got tackled too. Like these were blatant. Like I'm not a blame the refs guy. I'm not like, oh, they missed this holding. No, this was as blatant as it gets, and the only reason that play went for more than 2 yards. And then Demo came back the next play and took that same tight end and shoved him into the run lane, which was a violent collision with the running back. So, I mean, he's been there on his run fits, as physical as a safety, and he's playing nickel. And that's why the 49ers haven't had any desire or really had to look at, do we bring in a third safety against nickel packages for run support? Deommodore Lenor has been playing better than most safeties in the league in run support. So love the signing. He can play outside as well as anybody in the league. He's playing nickel at a super high level. I think the highest level in the league. When you look at nickel corners, I don't see anybody else who's filling on the run like he is, who's covering guys like DK Metcalf like he is. Absolutely phenomenal. I love the signing. Love to lock him up. This probably does mean that Mooney Ward walks next year, unless they have a way to. The only way Mooney Ward to me doesn't walk is if it's a short-term deal, like a 2-year deal that they, again, are just looking to move some of that dead cap down the road, because Mooney Ward is something like a $12 million dead cap this year, because he had of the void years coming due the moment he's not on the team. So I think I see the possibility for another 2 years here with Mooney Ward, but I wouldn't bank on it. He's on the wrong side of 30. The play hasn't been as high. The dead cap is a little bit of an issue. And then how do you where does that third corner come from, whether it's free agency or the draft? But that's off-season conversation. But I didn't think that this deal with Demo was going to get done until the offseason. They obviously came in with they were seeing how this was trending, that if they let him go to free agency, that he was probably going to be getting into the 5th or 6th highest paid corner sort of zone. And that becomes really expensive. And I think they were also looking at him saying, we have you playing in a very physical spot. Let's lock you in with a lot of guaranteed money. At this point, you have earned a huge payday. We're going to give you real close to that. You've been betting on yourself, which is great. Get some guaranteed cash in here. You don't know what can happen the second half of this year. Get some guaranteed cash. So it works out for both sides. They get him probably a little under what they would have paid if he had was heading into free agency. He gets a lot of guaranteed cash and security for a 5th round guy. I mean, this is somebody who now is looking at a pay increase of 18 times a year what he's making right now. I mean, this is generational wealth is what he's getting. So absolutely love it for him. Love it for everything he's worked hard for. That second contract, that big second contract, is the moment that changes somebody's life forever. Because now he has a security. He doesn't have to do anything after football ever again. So love it for him. Love it for the team.
I've loved Demo since the hit on, was it Swift with the Eagles?
Yeah.
When we were already up 97 points, but he doesn't care. He wants to send the boom, send a message. And that was just like, okay, who is this kid? Like, he wasn't what he is now. And so that was a moment for me of like, okay, I'm sticking with this guy. Like, we're rolling with him, And so ever since we've been excited. We're excited that your lovely wife, Dondell, is in the chat. What's up?
She is in the chat.
What's up, girlfriend? Okay, so another thing I want to get into is, you talked about guarding DK Metcalf, and he happens to play for the team rolling into Santa Clara. And I want to go over some of Seattle's stats and see where, obviously, I don't think many Niner fans at all have us losing this game. I even think that head on straight Seattle fans have us winning this game. So it's not about, oh, who do you think is going to win? But what I want to see is what jumps out to you. I love doing this with you, where I give you some stats based on the team up to this point, and you kind of tell me what jumps out to you and where you think we have the advantage and why, as we talk about the whys and hows of the game. So when I'm looking at their offensive stats to date. As first, we have to big thank you to Zach. He says, if Demo getting paid doesn't get your fire going, nor this D moving forward, your wood is wet. Thank you, Zach.
That's a good point. If that doesn't get you fired up, somebody took a fire hose to your to the wood. Which hey, shout out to our thank you so much, Zach, for the super chat. Zach's fantastic, amazing supporter of the channel. We appreciate it more than you know, buddy. So much. Another shout out to our sponsor, White Oak Pastures. I made something new. I've made it through a lot of their different food products through the year, and I did something new last night. I hadn't tried all of their pasture raised poultry, so I did a full roasted chicken. I think it was like 6 weeks ago, something like that. I did one of their full roasted chickens. It was phenomenal. Great chicken. Has a little bit more of a gamey flavor, which with chicken works. It works really well. I got some of their pasture raised chicken thighs, and I cooked them over just some salt and pepper over some oak wood out on the grill, grilled them up really good, and smoked them a little bit. It was like a quick smoke. It was a real hot smoke. Cooked them to finish, and then barbecue sauce. They were phenomenal. Some great great chicken thighs there. They're a little bit leaner, so that skin gets nice and crispy on the outside and keeps the whole thing moist. It was fantastic. But him talking about the fire reminded me of that last night. I cooked those chicken wings over an open flame with the oak wood. And I am fired up for Demo. Like this is the best extension to me this year. So, I felt like the Trent Williams one was one about just chasing money and locking guy in. And just getting him back in camp. Brandon Ayuk, I felt like if they couldn't get him for 30 or less a year, that we could ostensibly move on and we would be okay. And I think we're seeing that now. You don't get better by losing a player like Brandon Ayuk. I felt like Demo was the one that there was no pathway for replacement of that play. It leaves too many holes. So I am absolutely fired up. I love this signing. I think Demo has been absolutely phenomenal. And such a key to the team having the success they have. Now, when we talk about this matchup with the Seahawks, I think, like you're saying, we feel like this should be an automatic win. But understand, the Thursday night game between the 49ers and the Seahawks is the only thing that's keeping these teams from having a flipped record. The Seahawks are 4-5, we're 5-4.
Right.
And so, you look at a lot of the stats, they're not that far off. I mean, their average margin of victory is better than ours. So, they're 10th in the league in average margin of victory. We're 18th. The biggest thing for them has been the turnover differential, that they haven't been forcing as many turnovers and Geno turns the ball over. That is really the difference between them and us, and being probably 2 games ahead of us. If you really think about it, it was the game against Seattle that we had. Geno threw 2 picks. That's the difference in that game. I mean, that game was getting close. They're down the stretch, and it wasn't for the pick. So this is a team that we look at and we say, yeah, we should automatically beat these guys. But they fight a lot. Their offense is explosive. This is a game that, for me, it's not going to be a stress-free game. Now, we have Christian McCaffrey back. Didn't have that the first time. But this is one I don't feel as good as the odds. The odds have us 6.5 point favorites, so almost a touchdown favorites. I don't feel that way. I feel like it's maybe 3, but that's just me.
Yeah, and one of the things that I want to get into is I don't know what happens more. Geno is a little pass happy. They lead the league in passing at 268 yards per game. However, their defense is absolutely terrible. And so when you're playing from behind, you're going to pass the ball more. And so it's like, what happens first, the chicken or the egg? They are 25th in total yards, 20th in giving up passing yards, 26th in giving up rushing yards, and tied for 23rd in giving up points at 24 points a game. And in total yards on offense, they are 7th in the league. But when you're always chasing yards because your defense is so bad, is that more on the defense putting them in a situation where they have to go for 18-yard gains and every once in a while they get it, where other teams are going for 4-yard gains? Like, which is it? Now, Geno is talented. I'm not going to say that he's cheeks, but he shows that why he's in the situation that he's in. He's not ever going to be MVP of the league, but he can hurt you. And again, he leads the league in passing basically with 268 yards a game. Is that more on the defense, like I'm saying, or are you going to give a little bit more credit to Geno?
I think it's more of an issue where they can't run the ball or stop the run very well. So when you look at Seattle's,
they're 27th in the league in rushing. They run the ball for 91 yards a game, 27th in the league.
And overall rushing efficiency, which is yards gained per rush, they're also 27th. So that's why they don't run the ball a whole lot. They're not good at it. So their overall rushing efficiency is only 27th in the league. Their overall rushing efficiency defense is 29th in the league. So they can't run the ball and they can't stop the run. And that makes it hard to win games. Geno and then DK and Tyler Lockett and then Smith and Jigba are the biggest reasons they have won 4 games. So, but that also then exposes you to turnovers, like we've been saying. So I think if we were to sit here and say, Gino's not going to beat us. I wouldn't count on it. That he's the only reason they're 4-5 and not 1-6, or 1-8. So I feel like you have to respect what Gino does there. He throws for a lot of yards. Now they're middle of the road as far as their pass blocking. Their overall passing efficiency is middle of the league. Again, efficiency. So they're kind of boom or bust. Where we're a lot better against the pass than you would think. We're number 9 in passing defense efficiency. Where we haven't been great is we're number 20 in rush defense efficiency. So we still need to up that one a little bit. But it actually has gotten better from early in the year. But it's just you run the ball, you stop the run against these guys, and that's your blueprint for success, because those are the things they don't do well. Now, what they have done very well, and this is Mike Macdonald's system. This is very much, what John Harbaugh pushed there at Baltimore, is get after the quarterback, right? They had Wink Martindale before with John Harbaugh, who was all about pressure. I mean, he blitzed as much as anybody, or more than anybody in the league, and it was all about pressure. And then they let Wink go, and they bring in Mike Macdonald, and they pressured a lot of fire zone blitzes. A lot of things they were doing on the front to generate pressure. And so they're number 7th in the league in pressure. We are 22nd in the league in pressure. The offensive line. Now, a lot of that I think is also skewed up because of a couple of the opponents we played. Tampa Bay, Todd Bowles blitzed the heck out of our team. It was when I saw the numbers afterwards, and I was like, I don't even think that's accurate. I think that was low, because I think some of these run plays, they didn't, like, it was clear they were coming with a run blitz, and it wasn't counted as a blitz, because it's almost like, okay, was that a run blitz or was that a really aggressive fill? I think a lot of them were run blitzes. So I want to say Todd Bowles is probably coming with a 70% blitz rate against us. And it also doesn't count things like simulated pressures, where they're bringing like a slot corner and dropping a defensive end, where it's a 4-man rush, but it's going to present as a 5-man rush to the offensive line because of how they have to account for everything. So, I mean, Todd Bowles, like, he was blitzing the snot out of Brock Purdy and our protections, and Brock threw for 353 yards.
Right.
And so
that one to McCaffrey, I mean, against that,
it's still ridiculous. Like, and that one wasn't even like, that one was so frustrating because there was clearly a miscommunication of Trent thought that Banks was coming over, or he thought that that's just a stupidly good play.
That wasn't even the Garendo one, was it? That wasn't even
that wasn't. Like, when I watched that shot and saw how accurate that ball was from the end zone, and so I put it on X in slow motion, and it got like 350,000 views. You could see just like, it was insane. So that's the area that makes you concerned, is, okay, are they going to create negative plays through that? So you have to stay ahead of the chains on that. You have to get that rushing efficiency going. But you have the opportunities we saw in the last game, like with Garendo, for the big explosive runs. You had that with Jordan Mason early in the game. He had like a 40-yard run early in the game. So, run the ball, stay on that. Don't let them be in those 3rd and 6, and bring that pressure package, because that's where I get worried, is, are they going to force a huge negative, like a strip sack, like an interception? Is it going to be something on those lines? That's why I'm like, you've got to really stay committed to that run, and the offensive line has to be on their details on every single angle. We had a run in the red zone. I'm going to show it on the members website. I just recorded it this morning. I went through every red zone rep of our red zone plays against the Buccaneers. We had one play. If Colton McKivitz executes his reach block, we're looking at 2 for 3 in the red zone instead of 1 for 3. It's those kind of plays. And it was because he fired out too vertical. It needs to be more lateral in his step. Those are the details you got to be on. You can't take those for granted, and you can't You can't just get lax on those details because you're going against a team you think you should be able to run the ball against. Well, you can't run the ball against them until you've run the ball against them. That's how I
Right.
feel about it.
Right. You can say that you should be able to do it, but that's why they play the game. So, reminder, this channel is all about the whys and the hows of the game, all things 49ers. And be sure to check out the website if you have not already. As Johnny mentioned, it is JFA49.com. He is just finishing loading some new material. It was in the regular video on YouTube. He did mention that those red zone plays were going to be on there. So again, if you have not checked out the website, be sure to check that out. And a big thank you to all of those people that are already faithful and members at JFA49.com. I want to do something with you that I want to try and do every Friday, kind of a new thing called If Then. And
Oh
what it
boy.
is going to
Going
be
computer code here.
if we execute XYZ, if we do this, or if we stop so and so, then we win. So, what is something that jumps out to you about our matchup with Seattle that says, okay, based on what they like to do, or based on what they have been known to want to do to us, if we can do XYZ, then we win? What jumps out to you?
If we can stay out of less than 6 third and longs, we win this game.
Okay, I like that. So let's document that. All right. So if we have more than 6, now third and 7 is what is long? Because that
Third
can
and
be
7 plus.
okay, third and 7. All right, so I'm on the same page. I like it. So if we are third and 7 6 times in this game, if our offense is third and 7 6 times, we lose the game.
I don't feel good about it at all because I think that
Wow.
one of those plays you're gonna have a big negative. I just that's how I feel about it. So because of the way they generate pressure, that I you are with the pressure they generate, I don't think if you face that many, you're either going to be able to you're not going to have very many scores, um, and there's going to be a negative play in there. There's a big negative play. So I don't feel good about it, and yeah, I'll stick with that. I think
Yeah,
six
no,
third and 7 plus is not good.
that is very, very intriguing. And I know now the faithful are that are in the chat right now. Remember, the most fun way to watch is on YouTube. If you're in the chat right now, I hope you're writing this down, and that when you're watching the game, because I want to be able to come back to this and see, and this could be something that you end up talking about in the breakdown. If we lose, that some of these third down plays where it's tough to draw up for third and 13. You can't just assume you're getting an 18-yard crosser to Debo over the middle. Like, you can't assume that. And so I'm very, very interested to see how many third and longs we end up with. Who are your people? You already mentioned the 4 on offense. Is there anyone on defense with Seattle that makes you say, okay, I kind of like what this guy brings to the table, and I want to make sure that we double him or we do XYZ to him? And it's fair
Um,
to say no. I mean, I'm asking.
Well, I don't think I don't think their offense or their defense is quite structured in that you take away one. I mean, obviously the big guy you can't let get the explosives is DK Metcalf. You need to have eyes on him so that there's not an explosive there. DK is one of the most physical players in the league
We've done well
and
with him,
runs
honestly.
like a stallion, right? Because we have also made it a concerted effort that you're not going to. Now he almost had one against us, and it was a penalty, negated the play. So,
Well, I almost graduated college too.
right, but I'm saying that that
Yeah.
if it
I
wasn't for a
know, I get what you're
penalty, he just
saying.
his physical presence
For sure. He's a
manhandles
specimen.
our defense. So, um, you can live with him getting a 10-yard catch. You can't live with him, again, the explosive play.
Yeah.
Their offense relies on those explosive plays. If you're making them go all the way down the field, that bodes well for the 49ers. Now, Geno is streaky as a quarterback. The hard part in there is you give DK those 3 10-yard catches, then Geno Smith is going to get in a rhythm, and
3rd and 18,
he sees it, boom, boom, boom.
So lock it. That's my thing. A 20-yard gain to lock it on 2nd and long, and you're like, no,
right.
We got a big first down loss so that we wouldn't give up this big play, and then lock it. He's been like a killer for us. Like, just I don't want to see like
we know
more
who's
than
been
2
watching
of those.
JT O'Sullivan in the chat. Look, here's okay. And I saw this from Chase Daniel as well. I'll just address this. There's been a lot of criticisms of how the 49ers handle their pressure answers and the way and their pass pro schemes. Now, this is Kyle's talked about some stuff like this before. He says because he was asked like, does your dad watch the film and kind of give you some nuggets every once in a while? And he said, yeah, because he watches it, but he's pretty careful about giving me any suggestions just because he knows that unless you watch all of it, if you just watch a few things and you see something and you think you can do something there, but you haven't watched everything, it can actually really come back and screw you and bite you. I respect the heck out of all those guys. They know a ton about football. I also know they're not watching every single play through the game. They're watching pass plays. They're not watching what the Bucs have done the week before and the week before in the context. They're watching a lot of teams, okay? When I see things like that, I go, I understand why they would say that. But it also doesn't fit with exactly what the Buccaneers were doing in that game and by what an offensive play designer and coordinator is calling in that situation against the percentage of what you will probably get. So when we had an offset eye or an offset back in shotgun and they presented that mugged look, a lot of times if you were sliding away from the back, that what they were going to do is they were going to drop the end away from the back, and they had a safety or a linebacker on the running back, and that's not as good of a matchup as you want. So, and they did that a bunch in the game, and they were the way that they were dropping things just because they were presenting all those threats. They were very rarely coming with all of them. They were dropping 1 or 2 or 3 out a lot of the game. So, I must have not seen the notification that Glass is saying that he asked the question on at the members website. I didn't get a notification. I do apologize about that. So what you end up creating, what you're looking at then as the play caller and everything is they're saying, okay, this is the answer that Brock has to get to, and he has to make an elite play to get there. And you go, yeah, because that was about a 10% chance that that's the way the play was going to go. 90% chance by everything else you did, it was going to be a different answer. So if they drop Diaby or they come with the end on the other side, it doesn't work out the same way. So, like, I understand why those criticisms are there. And again, if you look at some of these things in a vacuum, that's the way it appears. And it does seem that this happens more often than not. But remember, defensive coaches they're paid a lot of money too. And sometimes they get you on those things, and sometimes they set it up, and sometimes they've seen your tendency. And I don't want to come across like I'm just always defending Shanahan on this, but they have to remember that call wasn't that the plan wasn't just okay. We're going to have this, and this is our number one plan. This is plan E and plan F for what happens on that play and what happens against this look because of what they've scouted and what's happened there. So, yeah, Todd Bowles got that. Todd Bowles is also known as a very good defensive coach for a reason. So that because he can pull things like that. We did not win this game in a blowout because of our protection packages, our protection schemes, and the way they were designed. We didn't win this game in a blowout because our special teams had a turnover and we missed 3 field goals. And we had another opportunity for a score in the red zone. And that had those things had nothing to do with not being able to account or not having a good enough pressure package because you had an unblocked guy. So I get what they're saying, but at the same point, like I push back and say, but that's not where I'm seeing it as this gaping hole from looking at the entirety of the film and what Tampa Bay was doing. On that play, yes. And that play, if it had just been, things that didn't make sense, or that Tampa Bay was coming with this and we were constantly wrong on that, then I would say, okay, yes, this is a systemic issue. It's like, I remember people making a big deal about this after the Chiefs game, and we had a play where Brock, there's an incompletion and they've got 2 free rushes coming off the right side and it's away from the back. And people are saying, why are we sliding towards the back? That makes no sense. And I go, well, you have to have scouted Kansas City to understand that was their number one percentage blitz was coming towards the back and overloading that side. The Bengals did it. The Chargers did it. They both slid towards the back because that's what Spagnuolo does, right? And so if you see that play in a vacuum, you say this protection scheme makes no sense. And there's a problem with the 49ers because they're constantly getting exposed on this. And I say, yeah, but again, they're all things when you're calling plays are based upon percentages and certain looks and what comes after the other thing. So when they're showing their number one pressure path and they're saying this is the thing we do the most, and you see that and you account for that, and then they come with the one that's not even 70%, 20%, 5%, 2%. When the one that's 2% comes, that's your plan A, B, C, D. You're getting to plan D, and people say, why is this the number one option? That doesn't make sense. You go, no, it's actually the fourth option versus the potential looks you have. So that's where I push back on that and see that stuff. I understand why they say that thing, but I do push back because, again, it just comes from, if we're going to make all these claims about systemic problems with the 49ers offense, it has to be based upon not just the passing plays and not just certain passing plays you see a pattern on. You have to scout the defenses that are coming. You have to look at, because this is what the 49ers are going to do. This is what inside the building, this is why they have 30 coaches, to look at all of this stuff. This doesn't come from, one guy looking at things, because if you can, you do see that as a problem, and you say, okay, well then we change things, and then all of a sudden you're screwed for 70% of your plays that are working. That's how I see all those things. I know it's a long, conflated answer, but that's what it is.
And of course, we agree with Lisa, who says that's why Johnny's the best at 49ers breakdowns. It's not even close. 25,000 people, can't be wrong. Again, shout out to the channel now with 25,000 subscribers. Okay, what I want to ask you now is, on the 49ers side, are there any players that jump out to you where you're excited to say, man, I think this guy can have a good game with 8 tackles, maybe, whatever, or on the offensive side, hey, I think this player can get 2 touchdowns or anything like that? Who jumps out to you based on the matchups?
Nick Bosa. Nick Bosa had 14 pressures last game. That was the most since Nick Bosa. I think it was in 2021. So Nick Bosa, their tackles are not good, and Nick Bosa has a chance to really go off on this game. Now, the one thing I want to see is Leonard Floyd be more on his P's and Q's with these stunts and twists that they're going to run, because if that comes around, Gino got a few plays where we were just so bad in the execution of our stunts and twists. And if the guys get on their details on that, Gino is getting just pummeled all game long. And so if that starts happening, man, Nick Bosa is going to go ham on these guys. And we'll see how many times Leonard Floyd can get him to do maybe a controversial dance every once in a while. That was real funny to hear from Kyle Shanahan. I think it was on KMBR, or was it on I think it was on KMBR, or it was on his presser. He talked about Nick Bosa's sack celebration, said that was actually Leonard Floyd who was pushing him into doing that, who got the whole thing going. But I don't care what his sack celebrations are. We want to see a lot of them in this game because he generated 14 pressures on 49 pass rushes against the Seahawks. And that was the most by a pass rusher since Nick Bosa against the Rams. So That's the game that I'm looking at and going, okay, he can go ham on this game. That's on the defense side. On the offensive side, Christian McCaffrey. I think this is a game that Christian McCaffrey can go absolutely ham on and have a big day.
Yeah, it's big that as we play some of these teams for the second time, that now we have McCaffrey. You talk about night and day difference, and just we've seen it literally in the first time that we saw McCaffrey play. Just even regarding blitz pickup, we talked about in your review video that, man, we love what Garindo brings to the table, but at the end of the day, he truly is a rookie, and
Mm-hmm.
rookie mistakes is literally a term that's been coined for many reasons. And so you see Trent Williams throw his hands up and say, "Will you get McCaffrey back in the game, please?"
Yeah.
And there's a reason why. It's like McCaffrey is such an X factor. And George Kittle even said on the interview with Aaron Andrews after the game that, like, guys, you just don't understand the aura of Christian McCaffrey and what he brings. And I mentioned that before, that it's just fun to see that a guy like that is back. So against the Seahawks, I think that's going to be huge. Okay, are we ready for score predictions? What do you think?
Yeah, let's go with the score predictions. Let's see what happens.
All right, so I agree. Um, put your in the chat, put your predictions, guys, please. I'm gonna start by saying I agree with you that we win by less than um less than the 6.5. And so I'm going to say that we win 24-20.
Okay, 24-20. I give our offense a little bit more credit than that. I'm going to say it's going to be 27-21. Now, last game, we pretty much ran away with it in the fourth quarter and put up over 30 against the team. So, but I think what the plan is going to be is to shorten the game, because when you shorten a game, that puts more pressure on a passing offense. It makes it harder for Geno to get into a rhythm and stay in a rhythm. So I think it's going to be 27-21. So I do think they don't quite cover the spread. So I think it's better than that. Now, I said I think it's more like a 3-point favorite, in that because it's a divisional game and things can happen, and it's a game that really comes down to one turnover on either side, and that will swing the point differential big time in this game. If the 49ers that are the 49ers and can be as they have been at some of their best this year, this game is not close. This game is 32, 35 to 17, 14. But if the 49ers tend to get in their way, which they have this year, and if special teams has a big goober, which I expect them to have this game, those are the reasons I don't see this game as being a runaway. But I think if the 40, so that's where I say I think there's going to be moments where the 49ers are just the 49ers. They're too much for the Seahawks. But I think we get in our own way enough to where it's not a blowout. That's where I see this game going. Now, if they come in and they say we're on every last detail from beginning to end in this game, the Seahawks have zero chance. Zero chance.
Right.
You know, if the Seahawks come in and say we are going to be on every last one of our details and we're going to do everything that we want to do, execute at a high level, they have about a 40% chance of winning this game. Like it. So when people say, "Well, every team," no, the Seahawks, they just don't have the talent on the defensive side of the ball that where they could do everything that they really want to do well, and the 49ers still are able to win the game. The 49ers, they come in and they do everything they want to do well. This game is not even close.
Right.
So just the talent differential between the teams. But it's a divisional game. Weird things can happen, and negative plays are always that. And special teams have just been so awful.
Yeah, well, that is a huge thing to keep an eye out for. The other thing, remember, faithful, to keep an eye out for is how many third and longs. We're going with 6. So if there are more than 6 third and 7s or more, then that could be a key factor. I'm very, very interested to be counting those up. I'm going to tell my friends and family here when we watch.
We're going to have the Adam Marino spread chart out here, or spreadsheet out here.
So when I coached
game,
when I coached when I coached high school basketball locally here, every assistant coach had a job to keep track of certain things, and I kept track of punches. And a punch in basketball is when you make 3 consecutive stops. And so at halftime, we could tell how the team was doing by how many punches we had. And if we
Mhm.
had less than 5, it probably wasn't very good. And so I love stuff like this. Like divide like figuring out like, okay, if we do this, this tells the story. Like time of possession is always big for me. I know it's not the end all be all, but I love winning the time of possession. It
Yeah.
just says a lot. Like and we've won games where we didn't win the time of possession, and we've lost games where we did win. And so it's not the end all be all, but I think it tells a story. And I do agree that third and long is a big deal. On the other side of the ball too, we give up too many third and long. So I am interested in that stat though. Equifaball asked me what high school did I coach at. I coached at Snyder High School in Fort Wayne, Indiana, which is where Rod Woodson went. It's where Jesse Bates of the
Oh.
Falcons went. I know Jesse
Yes.
very well. And it's where Malik Williams, who played for the Toronto Raptors last year, I coached him his junior and senior year. He is
So, I
seven
mean,
foot
that's how he
tall.
made it. That's how he
Right,
made it.
well, obviously, so yeah, so Snyder is definitely has like a claim to fame, and the city of Fort Wayne does as well. Tyler Eifert is from Bishop Dwenger, right in Fort Wayne. I live 8 minutes from there. Um, who's the linebacker, number 54, from the Cowboys, hurt his knee, got drafted, went to Jalen. Um,
Oh, yeah. I
and
know who
then
you're
he
talking
went to
about.
New York, and he played at Notre Dame, blew out his knee. Jalen
Yeah.
Smith. So
Yep.
Jalen Smith is from Lures High School. That's 15 minutes away. His brother also played running back, played for a little bit. Um, multiple people. Trey Essex, lineman for the Steelers. The lineman for the Jets right now. Oh, what is his last name? He's a second year player. He went to Bishop Dwenger. He's their starting guard, I think. I saw him live when I went to the Monday Night Football game. So definitely Fort Wayne, Indiana, definitely a spot that has many, many large football roots here with multiple different high schools here that have produced NFL players. So was so cool to be a part of Snyder High School. That was a few years ago, more than 4 or 5 years ago. But I all that to say, I love these kind of stats. I love keeping track of punches, how many stops in a row you get. It is Tipman, absolutely. Dr. Steve coming
Yeah,
through.
well, I mean, and this was brought up in the last presser. I think it was Larry Krueger mentioned it to Brock. He's 16-0 when he doesn't throw a pick. And I think sometimes we can make different things of those stats because I think the knee jerk reaction is always like, well, Brock just needs to not throw a pick. He has to be insanely careful with the ball, and you're going to win every single game. Well, yeah, but then you don't want Brock to also be gun shy and pulling the ball down, and not taking the shots that he normally would. I mean, again, the difference in that game was that he bought time, made a throw to George Kittle on an off schedule play. Well, all of a sudden you say, well, stop doing stuff like that and don't force the ball, and everything's going to turn out great. No, um, it doesn't always work like that. Uh, I think when he's not throwing a pick, that's really a function of the offense is playing really well, and you're not having to have him convert a lot of third and longs or sort of thing. And so that's one of those stats that so I look at those metrics and I see one side and I go, okay, yes, this is a big key thing, but I also think those are functions of other things happening a lot of times. Brock not throwing a pick. A lot of times will have to do with how well is the run game going? How well is the pass protection scheme going? Are our wide receivers on their P's and Q's? All those things playing in. And then when you look at a pick, you go, okay, well, maybe, it was at this point in the game, we were down by 6 points. We were already losing the game. And then Brock throws a pick because he's trying to force a ball at certain points in the game. And
Right.
so,
Like
it wasn't,
Minnesota,
yeah. So it's
I
like,
remember.
did the pick lose you the game, or was it
He
the
was
other things that were
fighting
happening
to
up to those
yeah,
point, up to that point
exactly.
that was really causing you to lose the game? So that's where I always try and like balance those things out. And that's why I'm saying third and long to me is a good metric because that shows me if you're in that moment, you're not running the ball consistently, you're getting negative runs on first down, you're then your pass protection is then having to hold up a bunch of times against a unit that is very good at generating pressures, and then they're very good at getting turnovers off those errors, those protection errors. So you have to mitigate those protection errors. That comes with running the ball, that comes with having a short controlled passing game, and that comes with staying on schedule and then not forcing the ball when it comes there. So, but you have to limit those opportunities. I think the more opportunities you have there, something's going to go wrong. And the only way that Seattle wins this game is if there's a huge error by the 49ers.
Right. All things level, we should beat them by more than 2 scores, but we just know how things go, and that's why I think Johnny and myself are one of the only 2 people in this chat that said it was only gonna be 1 score. Most people were in the, like, 31-20
Yeah,
in the
yeah.
2
There's
score
there's a
range,
lot of
and we'd love
optimism
that.
in the chat, which I love it.
Of
I
course.
love the
I'd
optimism.
rather
I
have
love it.
that.
I mean, come on.
31-20, I'm in. I am in for
Yeah.
31-20,
Oh, yeah.
like,
Yeah.
totally in for that.
I just haven't seen the 49ers be the dominant 49ers
Well,
this season.
special teams already right there, I'll say, is a
It's
reason
special
why
teams.
I
I mean,
don't
the only
think
team I've seen us be really dominant against is the Patriots. And I'm like, oh, the Seahawks are in it, the Patriots. The Patriots suck bad. And well, that and the Jets, and the Jets were supposed to be really tough, and the Jets suck bad. I mean, how poverty of a franchise are you to fire your head coach and then go trade for 2 guys who've been all pro and you got worse? I mean, what is their plan? What is their
I
what
don't I
is it literally just, hey, let's spend all the extra cap that we would have if we try and restart next year under a rookie quarterback and get that low salary? We're going to spend all that extra money this year on guys who are aging to make a run this year that we can't make because we fired our head coach and the whole thing's a mess. I mean, come on. They are a poverty franchise. The Jets gonna Jets.
yeah.
Anyways, that's a different sidebar. But those are the 2 teams that we've been more dominant against. Everybody else, it's been like, about some of these wins. So that's why I'm like, I can't be. Yes, the 49ers are going to really take control of this game. I want to. I see that happen. I feel so much better about the back end of this season. They need to be able to coalesce and do that. They have just not looked like. We haven't seen the 49ers when we're feeling really good about it. When they are rolling, when they are on everything, when we are like, these guys are the best team in the league, how they were the first 6 games of the year last year. We have not seen that. And we need to
Right.
see that.
So will be a huge week for that because just again, I just think Christian McCaffrey is that big of a deal, and we haven't even got number 57 back. So you just wait. You just wait, America. You wait. But this weekend, I think we can take a huge step if special teams are cleaned up. I think we can win. Hell, 31-17. I think that our defense can be that good where we don't give up. And if it is in the fourth quarter when we're already up and Gino gets a 38-yard touchdown because Demo and those guys aren't in because the game's over, I can live with that. So I'd rather that be the case. But man, excited to see. Again, faithful, be sure to check out JFA49.com if you have not already. Big shout out to powerbrandsystems.com who helped put everything together for your businesses. If you need something like what John Chapman uses, what Johnny uses, they are the best to use. So again, take your phone, show it to people wearing Niners gear, show them the channel. This breakdown in particular was really good. I think Brock Purdy made it good, but your skills obviously make it good as well. So I really enjoyed that video. So 6 third and longs. Be sure to do your tally, track them, and we'll talk about it on Monday. And so in the meantime and in between time, stay safe, stay healthy, and as always, go Niners.